So let's do it this way. But since I will not touch everything, and this is just like general, you can also be specific concerning the way your lecturer wants you to do it. But this is just to enlighten your understanding and make you know how it is done. Research proposal. So let's talk research proposal. It means many things, but in the most simplest form is just a kind of request, appeal, showing your research abilities to someone in higher, authorized figure, anyone you want to call it, someone superior to what allow you to write a project. It's just to show a sample, a request through sample. Okay. So the things to put in a research proposal, those kind of things I used to know them. Your outline, your chapter one, and I've showed you each that you put there, your chapter two, three, four, and five. I even showed you the name of each of them. Chapter one is introduction, chapter two is review of later literature. These are the things you put there. Those things, because in projects you will see those things, but more wider and more plenty. So you put only this one because the proposal, not the real research itself. You put this in, and even references. Yeah, there must be references because there will be something called an in-text citation when you write words and put people name in brackets. So the things you need to pick, like when you are trying to select a topic, let's talk about that first. The first one says start with the words, like this kind of words, effect of, impact of, those kind of things as your first distance. Then you put in the independent variable, that's number two. Because you'll be talking about mostly two things with a case study, which is the place. The third one is okay. The third one is okay. Anyway, just forget about the numbering. Put the independent variable, then focus on. Okay, that was the third one. You put on. If you put effect on, impact on, right? Relationship will be off. The fourth one, after that on conjunction, you put the dependent variable. Then the fifth one, your case study. And the case study is the place. Now, these are examples of how to pick a topic. You can see them. Effect of financial management on organizational performance. Effect, and you can see that the independent variable is financial management, the dependent is organizational performance, the case study is the place, which is the company, the banks, any bank. The same thing, effect of human resource management on organizational development, the study of the independent is human resource, the dependent organizational development, and First Bank PLC is the what case study. Let's do a research proposal on motivation. For this study, I want to use impact of motivation, like its motivation I want to use on organizational performance, a study of access bank. I see the independent is there, motivation. So this is how to arrange a topic, right? The dependent is there, organizational performance, and the case study is there, which is access bank, PLC or Goja. So the outline, normally in projects we call it table of content, but remember this is a proposal. The outline, the chapter one, introduction, we're going to discuss those five things I talked about, the background of the study, statement of the problem, objectives, research question and hypothesis. Chapter two, review of related literature, that is the title. We're going to discuss conceptual review, theoretical review. This is arranging the way we're going to actually discuss it. Chapter three, research methodology, we're going to discuss five things, but brief. Because in project, these five are enough, but very brief. Research design, population, sample size and technique, data collection method, data analysis technique. If you don't pay attention, you will miss it, although you still actually need the real class or practical to practice it, but this is just giving you an insight. Chapter 4 is data presentation. Chapter 5, summary of findings and recommendations. Normally in project, there's conclusion in between, but you don't need it here because it's still almost the same as summary of findings, except long sentence. Summary of findings and recommendation. By this time, says they'll be telling you that you have overdue, but it's proposal, right? Okay, so let me do overdo, but you can see how the chapter one is there, right? The background, background story, like a kind of small history, kind of small introduction. And right now, chapter one is already titled introduction, so it talked a little bit of it, the way you are seeing it. Motivation is as old as man, blah blah. Anyway, you can read all those things. I don't want to. You can pause the video and even read it if you want to. I don't want to. It's not about the work; it's how the work is to look like. Okay, so this is the chapter 2 statement of the problem, which actually shows how the problem will be. If you read it, you see that I gave 3 paragraphs for 3 sets of problems. And then you can see 1.3, which is still under chapter 1. Oh. Don't get it wrong. When you see 1.1, 1.2. And now the first is 1, you see other chapter. Objective of the study. What are the, you coined the objective. There's the main objective. Your main objective of the study is your topic. But you coin like some specific objectives. They can make it 3, they can make it 5, 4, whatever. I made my own 5. Then from there, the research questions are formulated. The same is aligned with your research objectives. And then from there, we'll dive into the hypothesis, which is also aligned. But the hypothesis, if you notice, you're saying there is no, because you will see null hypothesis at the introduction. You know, as a researcher, you have to be critical. So make it look as if it's a no until you arrive at the actual answer. Now, after looking at the hypothesis, if you notice, the hypothesis, the objective, and the question, you notice they were actually almost the same kind of thing, it's just the format. Now, see your chapter 2 that we're looking at now. Concept of motivation, conceptual review, which is like the note of it. You can have concepts, types, example, blah, blah. But this is proposal, I'll just make it brief, maybe like 3 or 5. But I prefer 3 because the proposal, you don't want to talk long notes. There's nothing you literally tell the person that you're doing it for, that the person will not really know. So it's just to prove that you can do it through your capability, right? So that is 2.1. You can see it for stories, and they have in-text citation, meaning names in bracket and the years. Now, you see what I talk about. See, we've entered 2.1.2, which is still under chapter 2, which is review of related literature, types of motivation. You see, enter 2.1.3 important. So it's like that. Then now we are entering theoretical review. And normally the first theory you use, you call it an anchor theory. But let me just brief it for you. It's called just call it main theory, right? But the first theory is your main theory. So I just decided to use 2 because it's proposed. I don't need to use much. Hierarchy of needs theory and equity theory. You talk about propounded it, the year, and the assumptions, which is what I did there. The assumptions are those small explanations I put. So anyway, then now you can see we're in chapter 3, research methodology. The research design is usually how it is packaged. For business, you usually use a descriptive research design. Yes, this is more descriptive. Anyway, so the population, let me just pick any number from my head since I'm not in the bank counting, and most time you will not be there counting. I just want to give it 35 staff, right? Then those are the people, but it's not all of them that will participate. So we have to calculate the sample size. One that will participate is the sample size, all of them together, even the non-participants are the population. So the sample size, I'm going to use Taro Yamin, because Cassius really like you to use calculation to get it. But you can do the ones where you don't use calculation. Taro Yamin formula is there. You define the formula the way I define it and use it to solve it. And whatever answer you get, you approximate it because we're talking about people. You cannot have 32.18 people. And you put the sampling technique, which we call simple random sampling technique, because only 2 main sampling technique can use Taro Yamin, which is simple random sampling technique and stratified sampling technique. Then your data collection method, how do you collect this response information from them? It's very important that you use questionnaire. Because you're a student, you have to be organized, and questionnaire is the most organized form. And then finally, you can say, okay, use small interview, but questionnaire mostly. If you like, say, don't put the interview. Now, data analysis technique, how do you use to test your hypothesis? All those hypotheses you have from the beginning of the work, just because you see negative, like there is no significant, there's no significant, does not mean they can also be positive. The negative is called null. That's why I say null. The positive is called alternative hypothesis. So this is the formula. When we reach chapter 4, I want to test it, but you're not in a project, so you will not actually test it here. But I tell you, what formula do you use to analyze that data? What formula? Yeah, we use chi-square. It's quicker when you're writing it. I don't want to use Pearson product or others. You use chi-square, and that is chi-square formula. And again, you define it. Then you go to your chapter 4, which is data presentation, and I'm going to show you how it is done now. Now you can see, I believe you are seeing what I'm saying. Chapter 4 questions, you have the gender, age, marital status, education, number of years work. Normally in a project, put this in 1-1, and normally you're supposed to put all of this, especially your proposal. Some people say neglect it, to not. But since you cannot put all aside, we can also in projects, if you are very good, devise a way to put all of them at the same time. This is what I did. You can see all of them at the same time there. It's neglecting it. Before it's supposed to have each of them in one table, but all of them are in one table. The 5 of them, and their percent. You must put percentage at the normal number. And remember the sample size is 32. So each of them must be up to the number of that sample size. And your population, when you calculate them in percent, each of them, when you total each of those, each of those specialty like that age, gender, it must be equals to, 100%. And as you saw, there are 2 types of questions. Apart from the normal personal data like age and whatever, you see the data, the research-related ones, and you see things like SAA, which is defined below what they all mean there. Now, those 5 things are actually called, if those 5 things are there, those parts are called points. So it's called the Likert scale, the 5-point Likert scale. You must have heard of it. So when I'm teaching you, then we'll go to chapter 5. So like I said, we'll go to the chapter 5, the summary of findings, which, well, you just look at the hypothesis. After you test it in the project, you test it. Whatever you get, positive or negative, there are rules. They call them decision rule to show how you get it. Whatever you get, you know. But here, they just assume it's positive, alternate, and that's why I put all of them there. Meaning that when your hypothesis is tested, when it has finished being tested, you become findings. Whichever one you get, I can only pick one, either null or positive, which are alternative. And that is for each, because you're going to test all 5 of them. You can see we have gotten our 5 findings. So put it as summary of findings. Your chapter 4 is discussion, but here summary. But you cannot talk about that in that your chapter 4 because that one is for project. So we only did data presentation in this one since it's proposal. So the next thing is your recommendation, meaning okay, it's good, but how can you make it better? Remember, they have a statement of problem in your work, meaning there were some symptoms you saw that make it feel like say he has problem, that make you feel you should research on it. So those things at least they should address them. You might not be sick, but you show symptoms of sickness. That's why I investigated. So address those things. That's what I mean. Stop. Let those things not be showing. So how can they make it better? So those things not be showing. So under researcher will not be tempted and say this have this problem. Let me do it too. That is the recommendation. Tell them the best way to solve it, to remove those nonsense symptoms. Like I've seen from that 5 hypotheses now that become findings that there's no problem from findings results, meaning they don't have problem with motivation. But those things that I'm seeing still need to be addressed. If not, somebody else will think they have. So I'll put that recommendation, how they can stop that one. That's recommendation. You can see it there now. One, talk about the treat the staff in that statement of the program. And it is here that they should be what? Number one, there should be proper treatment of staff. And the recommendation should not pass through, except specifically they say otherwise. Then references, you can see it there. All those in-text citations that are putting them on here, they still come under reference. If you check all of them, you see that all of them are here. Even from the theoretical review that I put 2 theories. Those people that write it, Abraham Maslow and then J. Stacy Adam, you can see them there. That part that I say Maslow, 1943 is Abraham Maslow. And the Adams, you can see it as the first one, Adam J.S. And those are the book they write. So anyway, those are just some of the things you need to know under a research proposal. But if you know all these things, you have completed it. So good luck.